It was simpler than one might think. It was called gun.
ともあれ、これで罪だ。何か言い残すことは？
If you just had a way to interrupt the flow of her energy.
Alice could no longer see her enemy.
Yeah, that's not good.
Toko's infinite eyes had bound her. All she could make out was a sliver of moonlight and a blue streak tracing its way towards her.
Oh yeah, there's a little blue line in the sky.
Robin?
Maybe.
結構悔いのない人生で羨ましい。
Oh.
She drew a rune in the air, unleashing a shockwave to tear flesh asunder. The gusts became blades of air that shredded Alice's overcoat and minced. Blue feathers flitted all around. Toko felt something behind her and turned. 5 cat-shaped bells were thrown at her feet.
Oh.
And just as quickly, they shattered to pieces. Standing before her was a completely unharmed Alice Komoji.
そよ風みたいなルーンね。トウコさん、本当に鈍った。う
つせみか。術者の身代わりになるプロイの話は聞いてなかったな。
ええ。1年のうち365日は役立たずで。
Every other day of the
どう
year.
してあんなのが古参なのか、私も疑問だけど。
As if responding to Alice's words, a bird began chirping frantically. An anonymous sacrifice. Who killed Cock Robin echoed into the night, sung out of tune.
ああ、そんな歌もあったな。だがあれは一度に1回しか殺されない。2度目はないし、あったとしても。
The bird squawked a very unbird-like death throw. Behind Alice, the blue robin fell from its tree, a victim of Toko's mystic eyes.
Oh.
本当に使えない。
She could probably bring him back.
さて、ではやり直しだ。あとも使えている。これで終わりにしよう、アリス。どのみち、この公園では手がないだろう。
そうでもないわ。確かに、今の私にあなたの魔眼は破れない。けれど、Beauty up with wood and clay, wood and clay, wood and clay, beauty up
Oh,
with
yeah, the
wood
troll.
and clay,
We're in a spot where you can
my
use it.
fair lady.
If they're close enough to the water, I guess.
Yeah, if there's a creek right through the park or something.
The song came from the depths of the earth, stirring a mighty quake to mark the birth of something gargantuan.
Who does not like this, it seems.
Well, it's also playing fucking, like, victory music right now.
Yeah.
Until that gets cut off in the middle of, like...
We'll see.
It's always a bad sign when each of those themes gets cut off.
Yeah.
Toko needed to throw Alice into an infinite hell before whatever that was could be completed. But she was far too late.
Yeah, so it's a projectile. She has to actually throw it out in order to hit the thing.
Mound burst to life. A finger, then another, and another, and another, and another, all rising up like towers. Earth, snow, and brick knitted together, manifesting a giant stone golem.
This is gonna be hard to
The
cover
church
up.
was gonna have a hell of a time explaining this one in the morning.
Yeah.
Giant stone golem, we just established this.
Did she not know about this one? Oh, never mind.
Toko was so angry and confused she could barely gather her thoughts. The bridge giant,
The Thames troll.
the monster from the monster's fairy tales, rose from the ground, ruining Toko's plan.
You didn't think she could use it here, maybe?
The giant was extremely powerful, but could only be summoned under one condition. It must be in proximity to a natural river. That was the monster's one and only condition. But this park was nowhere near one.
Unless there's an underground river.
And on top of that, it was rising up directly between Toko and Alice mid-battle.
Even though it's supposed to be a bridge troll, huh?
あるでしょうすぐそこに
Does the snow count?
川と呼ぶには小さなすぐに消えてしまう
Toko lowered her gaze. She was standing in a puddle of water.
She melted the snow?
The scarred red maid was dumbfounded. That was why Alice had used Diddle Diddle before. While the bells could be replenished, they were valuable to Alice. And she'd spent 5, throwing them in an intentional fight for the sun runes to destroy. From there,
Yeah, she threw them in a line. Wow, okay. That, okay.
boy, I wonder what the rest of that sentence is.
I don't know.
Update, guys.
Well, that's gonna be a problem for you.
The arms of the Thames troll rose up from the stone paving. The monster's torso alone surpassed 80 feet.
Jesus Christ, that's big.
Its form was made entirely of stone. Previously, she'd created one using the trees of the forest.
Right.
However, Toko knew instantly the monster before her was at least twice as powerful.
Toko is aware of the one from the forest.
Yeah, she was the one they were fighting.
I mean, we didn't know that for sure, those weird guys, but yeah.
No, we haven't seen
pretty
a single other enemy yet.
I
so-
know, it's pretty obvious now.
She unleashed her stacked mythic eyes. They were meaningless at this stage. They had no effect on the giant.
Too big, maybe?
As said, mystic eyes can be countered in 2 ways. The first is to hide oneself from view of the mage. That was the standard response. The other way, however, was devilishly simple yet 100% effective. In fact, it's less of a way and more of a fact. Mystic eyes curse a target by focusing on them.
Oh.
However, what if the target was too large to focus on entirely?
Right, like a skyscraper. Right, she can't actually view the whole thing.
The answer was, one could barely stop a single order. The giant, unfazed, raised its right arm and swung it down onto the ground, destroying thousands of runes.
Oh. And then dragging its hand.
The demolished stones were then absorbed into its arm,
Oh,
adding to its mass.
God.
As the mage had said before, no matter how deep at night, these little suns won't set.
Well, they're firing off, it looks like.
The suns might not set. They could be crushed under the bulk of a giant hand.
Yeah. Oh. Dog army, what are they up to? Did she run away?
Fucking damn this game sometimes, I swear. The timing is too fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Victor of the battle was decided. Toko Aozaki closed her eyes and prepared to escape.
With her army of yapping dogs.
As you do. The stray dogs began to whine.
Because they got scared of the gigantic skyscraper troll?
Fearful of the hulking figure
Yeah.
before them. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
sounds
giant skyscraper troll.
Yeah, okay.
参ったな。私ではマインスターには勝てなかったか。
And yet you're gonna keep trying, huh?
まあ、そのあたりは今後の課題としよう。
呆れた。逃げられると思っているの？
Well, obviously.
トコさん。
I'm not sure what you think you can do to stop me.
まさか。そこまで鈍ってはいないよ、
Give
ア
me
リス。
some credit.
第一。逃げるとしたら、それは私の方じゃないからね。
Okay.
There was no hint of bravado in Toko's tone.
Yet they're acting like she lost.
Even in the face of a titan she had no means of harming, her confidence was unshakable. The reason being,
ま、前座は終わりだ。
Damn.
来い、ベオ。
this was no longer a battle of skill.
Oh.
A fight for survival had begun. Snap went Toko's fingers, broken, each and every one, simultaneously.
Oh.
In response, a beautiful, high-pitched melody floated up toward the moon. Is that what that was? That sounded like berserker rectangles to me.
Yeah, I don't,
It echoed all around them. The spiral howl dredged up ancient, primal memories. Its source emerged from the shadows and landed next to the mage.
Oh. A white wolf, huh? It isn't Lobo. Or maybe he's golden?
His tail seems kind of reddish.
Yeah, I can't tell with the light there.
Alice's lip trembled faintly. Not from fear, but with admiration when she recognized the creature before her. It was a majestic, golden beast. Beyond the domain of both magical and phantasmal, simply divine. It was a life that should have passed from the world with the age of gods.
Oh, shit.
A mystic derived from human wisdom, preserved by thousands of generations of hidden tradition. A recreation of a miracle that once freely walked the earth. The natural enemy of magecraft, able to crush it with ease.
Huh.
Quiet resignation settled over Alice's face. The golden beast charged. This time, she didn't even have a chance to admit defeat. She could hear the beast's breathing in her ear.
Oh.
It seemed she'd been unconscious for a short time. Alice opened her eyes and took a deep breath. Each cough sent pain shooting through her body. Blood rose from the pit of her stomach and she spat it out onto the cold ground. When her vision returned, she was able to make out the distant sky, falling snow, and the golden wolf. The wolf panted. It stared at Alice, saliva dripping from its mouth onto her cheek. Razor-sharp fangs lined its jaws. Its fur was glossier than that of any animal she'd ever seen. Brutal, knife-like claws protruded from its massive, blood-stained paws. And yet, it didn't smell like a beast. Surely the presence of such a noble creature. A human would feel like the lesser animal. In the presence?
Yeah, that's what it's...
The battle between Alice and the wolf was over before it had begun.
Clearly.
After destroying the troll, it baptized Alice with its wicked claws, giving her no chance to escape.
Jeez.
Its side swipe had torn her into her abdomen like a sword, carving through her clothes and flesh, all the way to her heart. Even so, not once did Alice make a sound.
Just stunned or something?
The wolf had her pinned and stared at her face. Her limbs felt ready to break at any moment. That was the situation she found herself in. Now fully conscious, with a giant gaping hole in her stomach apparently,
Yeah.
Alice stared at her enemy through pained eyes. She felt no fear, only cold reality sinking in. Sensing Alice's demeanor, the wolf suddenly paused, its paw still raised. They looked into each other's eyes.
そんなに血が出てるのに
Huh?
痛くないんだ
The wolf's voice came as a surprise,
Oddly light.
but there was no doubt it had spoken.
それとも痛いのは平気なのかな
The wolf's voice sounded innocent, almost childlike.
So he's probably a young version of that kind of wolf, I guess.
Blonde, golden. A kid.
Which kid?
The one that stole the sweet potatoes.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
In complete contrast to what had happened up to that point, the wolf smiled.
どっちにしろ我慢強いんだねお姉ちゃんは
The wolf opened its mouth wide and clamped its jaws around Alice's neck.
Jeez.
ベオ
Oh. Wow, you actually don't want him to kill her?
Toko's tone was sharper than the wolf's fangs. The wolf froze.
トウコさん
He let go and slowly turned his head towards the voice.
とどめは刺すなと言ったろ余計な仕事を増やす気かバカもん
Would that be extra work for you?
それはそれで楽しいのに
Wow.
ああ退屈話に聞いた橋の巨人も結局は他の生き物と一緒だったし
Yeah, that... Huh. You'd think it would have done more, given how big it was.
The wolf backed away from Alice, as if no longer interested in its prey. To the golden beast, she was little more than an old chew toy.
なんだもう意識が戻ったのか心もタフなら体も大概だな骨まで砕いてその程度の出血とはマインスターの教育の賜物かい
Barely clinging to life, Alice stared at Toko. But not a stare of hatred and defeat, but one of disbelief.
Huh.
Alice simply wondered why Toko had brought such a beast.
Really?
ああ紹介が遅れたな
I
彼は
mean...
おそらく地上で現存している最後の人狼だ
Really? The last?
北欧の奥地に生きる彼らの一族の中に現れた生粋の原種だよ 見ての通り先祖返りなんて言葉じゃ表せない黄金の神秘でね名前がなかったんでわかりやすくベオウルフと呼んでいる
I could imagine Beowulf wanting to fight that guy.
ベオウルフ
Alice's face was perplexed, even though she hadn't wavered when she was disemboweled.
Well, I think her intestines are still inside her.
Beowulf. The name of the heroic giant slayer from Danish legend. It came from Old English, a combination of honeybee and wild beast. A bear, in other words.
Oh.
なんでそんな ちぐはぐな名前を。
Well, in the old English.
Your naming sucks.
It's not actually a wolf, you know.
いや、可愛いからに決まってるだろ。
Fuck you, I thought it was cute. Perhaps because of the name or because of the golden beast itself. Fighting the pain, Alice struggled to read Toko. In this respect, she was worse than Aoko.
ついでに説明しておくと、周りの犬どもはベオが勝手に呼び寄せたものだ。私自身、マインスターの娘がただの畜生に傷つけられるとは思ってはいないよ。今のところはね。
Toko's mouth twisted into a grin. Not the warm one SoJo saw, but the merciless smile a victor displays to a loser. The disdain in Alice's eyes turned to anger. A golden mystic. How could Toko have brought such a creature into the human world? Well, I mean, she didn't. It was born to an indigenous tribe in Northern Europe.
I think she means brought it into civilization. It should be living out in the wilderness somewhere.
何？需要と供給だよ。
That's the supply, and I had a demand.
Right.
過疎化は人間だけの問題じゃない。彼らもいい加減、昔ながらの生活には限界が来たらしくてね。話し合いの末、高額で私が買い取った。と言っても、あくまで里から出すだけの権利だがね。お察しの通り、私の髪はベオとの契約に使い切った。自分の髪を使って分身を作るより、強大な怪物を縛り付けた方がよっぽど健全。
Is she longer haired in Tsukihime?
In Kara no Kyokai, she has longer hair.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
But she usually does tie it up.
Is K and K supposed to be before or after this?
Different timeline, I think.
Ah. I mean...
Yeah. Not diverse, you know.
While she was talking, Toko noticed something strange.
Did Alice pass out again?
An unusual sound. A preternatural sound that tore at the mind.
Oh?
A sound that shouldn't have existed. And it was coming from the girl's open abdomen.
Is it putting itself back together?
もう復元が始まったか。
Yeah. Oh, no, wait.
いや、というより。
Her magic crest should be healing her.
何この匂い。
え？
トウコさん、なんかワクワクすること起きてない？
Do we know for sure that Alice has one of those? Because they have been repeatedly referring to her as a witch, not as a mage, and as using witchcraft as opposed to magecraft.
If she doesn't have her family's magic crest, then I don't know how she's supposed to be using her family's magic.
Well, it might not obey the rules of Western magic. You know, that's what I'm saying.
I could not tell you.
Like they've made it a point to not refer to her as a mage, and to not refer to her stuff as magecraft at any point.
Well, I don't know.
Curious, Beowulf moved closer, like a puppy examining a new toy.
見るな、あっちに行っていろ、ベオ。
Don't look at it.
正気を失っても知らんぞ。
Like she's trying to do. Toko shooed the mud away with her hand. Beowulf lowered his head meekly and withdrew.
教育方針を間違ったかな。まったく。
What?
乙女の腹を見ようなんて恥を知れ、恥を。
トウコさんだって見てるじゃない。
バカ。私は乙女だからいいんだ。
Okay.
If Aoko had been here, she would have blasted them away for their impudence, just as she did against Flat Snark.
Huh.
しかしむごいな。こんなになるまで放っておくとは。マインスターは人の親とは言えないよ。
With her gloved hand, Toko ran her fingers along the wound on Alice's abdomen. A flash of pain ran through Alice's body. Alice had held in her screams, but she finally let out a long breath. She turned her face away in pain or shame.
ほら、もう肌も復元している。骨格、血管はおろか、内臓にまで施されたおびただしいまでの刻印だ。生後、肉体に魔術回路を付加することは諸刃の剣だ。呪文と自分を一体化させることにより、栄唱の手間を省き、術者に多大な利点をもたらす魔術刻印。しかし、それは多ければ多いほど苦痛を伴う。青崎の刻印は腕一本分。まあ、君に比べれば少ない方だね。
I'm sorry, are we conflating crests and circuits again? Because these are different things.
I don't know. Need some more info here.
The magic crests Toko referred to were the inheritance of the Aozaki family, passed down by their ancestors.
Right.
They can only be inherited. Aoko had received the ones that were meant for Toko.
しかし、それも良し悪しだな。
Well?
右腕に刻印をした青子の痛みは、残る人間の体と神秘となった右腕とが反発する程度だ。通常の肉体が右腕を否定し、末梢にかかる痛み。
What if somebody were to, like, lose their entire left arm and staple one on from, I don't know, a ghost liner, for instance?
Yeah, that could be dangerous.
I bet that would hurt like a son of a bitch.
Probably. You probably should not be using the ghost liner's power if you did that. 精神的にも肉体的にも生じる幻痛は、現在にも似て拭い去ることはできない。だが、ここまで来ると痛みも何もあるまい。 Yeah, the more you walk down that path, you just have to get used to the pain, I guess.
Actually, the question there becomes, is that just a thing that works in general, or did that literally only work because the ghost liner in question happened to be the person whose arm he was stapled to?
I don't know if that was ever clear. Because we do know he was using Archer's reality marble, not his own. So, it's possible that it works, but if it's not compatible, you might just kill yourself instantly. So, probably a case of the powers just happen to line up well.
Yeah, but like, what I mean is, did the whole stapling the arm thing on only work because he was the servant in the first place, or...
Well, I think...
Could he have just done that with, like, I don't know, Herc, if they'd had Herc's arm? Could they have just stapled that to Shiro?
What I mean is, they probably could have used anyone's arm, because Kodomine was able to do the surgery, but if the arm was incompatible with the body, there was going to be a chance of failure. So, like any kind of transplant, there has to be at least some kind of vague connection. It might have worked with Herc's arm, but if he tried using Herc's power, that might have just killed him much faster. It's probably something like that.
そもそも生きている実感はあるのか？自分が人間だとまだ信じている？ああ、本当に。お互い非凡な死を持つと苦労するね、アリス。
Grandfather, you mean?
Oh, look, it's even regenerating her clothes.
Maybe.
Toko took Alice's body in her arms. The wounds from Beowulf had mostly healed.
Wow, that was fast.
Even so, her breathing was shallow, likely due to the pain. Toko gently held the girl's face in her hand.
マインスターには恩がある。それに、私の相手はあくまで青子一人だ。
Oh.
Anyway, what's...
Alright then.
Anyway, what's Aoko's is mine, and therefore you are now mine.
I guess.
I know how Aoko was crushing on you. Alice's lungs pined for oxygen.
Oh.
Toko
resuscitation.
provided.
I see.
The young girl wriggled, trying to escape, but Toko said, "Nah, mine."
Huh.
Beneath the blue moon, the two remained frozen.
So Toko's gonna keep her alive then, huh?
Then the sound of swallowing.
Yeah, she's just forcing air down her throat.
Something solid slid down Alice's throat.
Uh-huh.
With that, she went limp, and her arm fell. After setting Alice down on her side,
Sorry about that.
Toko stood up.
今のは七かまどに手を加えた私の特製品だ。そう簡単に解毒はできない。
Oh.
魔力を流せば体の中で暴発する仕組みになっているから気をつけなさい。ああ、口移しは私の趣味だから特に気にすることはないよ。
I see. Just don't think about why I chose to do it that way, even though you had open wounds just a moment ago.
It's fine. I like passing things with Y mouth.
I see.
As she desperately clung to consciousness, Alice looked up at Toko from the ground. The disgrace from the kiss was greater than the pain she felt in her body. Toko began walking away, her golden wolf in tow. Neither looked back to see Alice's hateful glare.
そうそう、一つ言い忘れていた。ベオが呼び寄せた野犬たちだけどね。公園の外にまだ山ほどいるんだが、困ったことに彼らは本来何を口にするべきかを思い出している。ベオの野生に刺激されたんだろう。獣はより強い獣に従うものだからな。
In a roundabout way, Toko had read Alice her last rites.
But she can't use magic to protect herself now.
In nature, it was common for the weak that could no longer move to offer their bodies up to feed the strong.
じゃあ、私は行くよ。歩くことも満足にできないだろうが。無事に帰れるといいね。
Anyway, good luck walking home. With a twisted grin, the mage headed into the darkness.
Awfully roundabout way to do things.
Yeah, but she has less cleanup with the association if she didn't actually kill her, I guess.
Maybe.
As her footsteps faded, the sound of growls grew louder. Alice could still barely focus her eyes. The hounds looked like monsters out of a picture book. Alice took a deep breath, consciousness slipping away. The sky was blue. The trees were tall. Haikus were a thing.
Kinda?
The park was a graveyard. In the corner of her eye, though, Alice could just about make out a solitary phone booth.
Yeah, that was mentioned earlier. Thought that would come back.
The phone rang.
So she made it to the booth at least.
It was the second time SoJo had heard its voice
Oh?
echo through the cold foyer.
Second time?
Only a few minutes had passed since Alice called. She wondered what she could want this time. The call persisted, determined not to leave him to his thoughts.
はい、クオンジですが。
Oh, he actually answered that
あら
time.、
その声は宗十郎くん？
A cheery voice. SoJo had been expecting Alice.
So Alice called before the attack after all?
So it would seem.
Okay.
It was Toko Aozaki. Somehow, SoJo was not surprised.
そうですけど、トウコさん、暇なんですか？
He checked the time. He thought it was about midnight by now. No matter what the situation, SoJo always kept his cool. He could hear Toko trying to suppress a laugh. After taking a while to compose herself, she started talking again.
ごめんなさい。ちょっとツボ入っちゃったみたい。で、質問の開始ね。これがあんまり暇じゃないな。私も今日で終わらせる予定だから忙しいんだ。
Yeah, clearly.
偶然ですね。青崎もそんなことを言ってました。
やっぱりそうね。こういう時は本当に姉妹だなって思うわ。 昔からエンジンかけるタイミングだけは一緒だったから、あのことは。ところで、青崎はやめてって言ったでしょ。私も青崎だからくすぐったいのよね。そう言われるの。
SoJo realized she was probably right. Aozaki's words made more sense
まあ
now.
そんなわけだから、長話をする気はないんだ。単刀直入に聞くけど。
No?
It almost sounded like she was worried about her sister's whereabouts. But the cool-headed SoJo hadn't forgotten Toko was their enemy. Keeping Aoko and Alice in mind, he decided to be evasive.
さあ、なんて答えてほしいんですか、トウコさんとしては。
The question shifted the tone of the conversation drastically. SoJo could hear Toko muttering to herself in annoyance. SoJo was proving more quick-witted than she'd anticipated. A change of tack was required.
そうね。君には何も答えてほしくないっていうのが正解かな。第一印象で君を無視するのは良くない気がしてたけど、やっぱり私は宗十郎君を手にかけたくはないみたい。君はこのまま無関係でいてちょうだいね。
Her warning came from the heart. Weird, I thought it would have come from her mouth, but
Well,
shows what I know about anatomy. SoJo responded flatly, once again, not giving any sign either way. It seems she wanted him to stay out of this too. Even SoJo could tell the girls were being kind in their own way. But who asked for their kindness?
じゃあ、さよならね。私は君が思ってるほど暇じゃないから。
Yeah, that's awfully final.
Yeah, not John A. It's
Yeah.
like...
でも、最後に一つだけ。君を試すようで悪いんだけど、伝えておかないと一生恨まれそうだし。
Uh-huh.
なんで、そうならないように、責任の半分を君に押し付けちゃおうか
Tell
な。
him about Alice, I guess.
Toko giggled. A laugh to show that she had him in the palm of her hand from the beginning.
さっきクオンジさんに会ってきたの。彼女から電話があったでしょ。
Oh, so she did call, okay.
Her tone had not changed. She sounded as cordial as before. Even so, as soon as SoJo heard Alice's name, a chill ran up his spine.
彼女、今ひどい状態なんだ。満足に歩けないどころか、体中の刻印が活性化して破裂寸前。宗十郎君が骨折の痛みを知ってるなら、うまい例えようがあるんだけどね。
I thought she used his name
She
there,
did
but-
use his name.
まあ、ともかくだ。いつ気を失ってもおかしくない状態なんだけど、災難なことに怖い野犬に囲まれてるみ
I
たい
mean,
な
she's so far away, there should
個人的
really
な
be
意
no
見
way
だけど。
SoJo could do anything about it.
10分もあれば骨しか残らない結末になるでしょうね。
Oh, good luck getting to the neighboring city in 10 minutes when it only
Yeah.
takes when it already takes you like half an hour just to go to school.
I know. Just getting down the hill.
She spoke as if she was telling a joke. If it was a joke, it was in bad taste. However, SoJo knew this was anything but. She was telling the truth. He hadn't heard of dogs attacking anyone in town, but the noise he heard while on the phone with Alice suddenly made sense. Dogs. A pack of them. No doubt about it. They were surrounding their prey. Why had he not cottoned on sooner?
Cottoned on, wow.
Squeezing the receiver in his hand, SoJo cursed himself. Alice had been calling for help. Even when backed into a corner, she'd not wanted to involve SoJo. Still, she needed help. The way she said his name so lightly.
場所は
He spoke abruptly. Even though he knew Toko was the enemy, he was confident she would answer him. That was the reason she'd called.
教えてあげてもいいけど、そうした瞬間に君は私の敵になるのよ。その覚悟はある？
If you choose to go to her, you elect to be part of this.
Right.
And at that point, I will be forced to kill you.
I see. And yet you called him about this anyway.
SoJo realized what was happening. He was being tested. By ignoring Alice, he would be confirming that he did not want to get involved. But if he decided to save her...
それで場所は
SoJo ignored Toko's question. Of course he wasn't prepared to become her enemy, but he was even less prepared to let Alice die. He'd lost his ability to think sensibly, not that he was particularly good about that to begin with. Still, he wouldn't waste any time in deliberation. He'd simply go with his instincts. It was one of the few times he'd felt pride since coming down from the mountains.
ちょっと残念だな。私は本当に君が気に入ってたのに。まあ、こうなることは分かってたけどね。場所はヤシロギの森林公園。受話器の下に地図があるでしょ。この前帰りがけにしおりを挟んでおいたから、それを参考にすること。繰り返すようだけど、10分持てばこう。
They got played hard.
その後は1分ごとに奇跡の価値が上がるような状況よ。
I mean...
How do you expect him to get to Yashirogi in 10 minutes? You have to take a train there.
Is there a teleportation spell too?
As he listened, SoJo's expression turned to one of irritation. Misaki and Yashirogi were one station apart. And he had to get down the hill to get to Misaki.
Right.
Which we already know is like a 30-minute walk by itself.
A walk, yes.
How long would it take to get to the station from the mansion? Usually just under 12 minutes. By the time he got off the train at Yashirogi, nearly 30 minutes would have passed.
地図の上じゃ近いのに、区画整理された交通手段は不便よね。けど、急げば最
The
終の
last
電車
train
には
is
間に合う。
midnight.
ここで諦めた方が賢明だけど、君はもう私の敵だから。どっちにしたって、後悔のないようにね。
The line went dead. SoJo, not Toko, had hung up the phone.
Oh.
He memorized the map and then made for the door. With no time to grab his coat, he ran out into the snowy winter night with the clothes he had on.
Oh boy.
All that remained in the hall was the discarded map.
Well, hopefully Aoko finds that.
The phone had vanished.
Well,
the wall hangings
yeah,
had vanished.
That's fine.
The hall was just a single discarded map and
Right.
nothing else. It showed Misaki City. It was about 10 minutes from the mansion to the nature park. 5 if you went in a straight line, but the streets weren't that forgiving. 4 inches on the map, but so much further in reality. For the first time, SoJo cursed the town.
I don't know how they're gonna even get 10 minutes out of this.
Alice's injuries weren't limited to her abdomen. The wolf had punched a hole straight through to her back,
Ow.
crushing her lower vertebrae and leaving both of her legs paralyzed.
Oof, okay.
Though her magic crests were repairing the damage, it would likely take another hour before recovery.
Wow.
At the very least, her heart and slender arms still worked.
Not that she has a lot of upper body strength to pull herself around.
Although after crawling along the ground to the phone booth, those too were failing her.
Huh.
As the crests healed her wounds, a searing heat ran through her body that threatened to overwhelm her. It was as if her body was no longer her own, like she was transforming into another creature. The poison throbbing through her open wounds hurt emotionally more than physically. She was used to pain, but she couldn't accept this disquieting feeling. Not that she had any intention to. The moment she did, it would be her last.